Okay, 6 o'clock. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Dan?
Here.
Mayor Derry?
Here.
Tom?
Yes.
Then Paul is absent. Norm?
Here.
John Center? Absent, and Michelle absent.
Denise is on. Okay.
She'll be hanging out with us.
Okay, I don't see John in there. Okay, well, that doesn't matter. Okay, public meeting participation rules. Please wait for the chair to acknowledge you before you speak. 2, begin by stating your name and address. 3, give us comments, opinions, or questions on issues being discussed. 4, to ensure that everybody has time to speak and that we can address other items on the agenda. We may limit an individual speaking time to 5 minutes. If time permits, we may allow you 1 additional time period to provide new information. 5, be respectful of the planning commission applicant and your neighbors. Again, thank you for attending. Tom Hilberg, Chair. Okay, adoption of agenda. Need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Larry and Roxanne. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay. Public comment. If you have anything, oh, I'm sorry, approval of minutes. I got 1 step ahead of myself. Approval of minutes from November 11th, 2024.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, now, public comment. If you have anything for the good of the planning commission, you're welcome to state it now. And if it's in regards to the case coming up, maybe you want to wait till we start reviewing the case, but it's up to you. So does anybody want to make a comment? Okay. Okay, correspondence, report 0724 from R Dual. We will have a motion to file that.
I'll make that motion.
Norm, and
I'll second.
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, public hearing, case number P-07-24. Applicant is Chanelli Tower Consultants LLC, requests a special approval use for a support structure communications tower. Property is located at 8825 US 23 North, parcel number 013-014-000-120-00 in a forest recreation FR zone district. Here we need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public
Roxanne?
hearing.
I'll
And
second.
Larry, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, are you the representative for the?
Yeah.
Is that Chanelli? Is that correct or?
My name is Fred Lau. I'm here with Chaley Tower
Chaley, okay.
Consultants. I know it's an odd name. And we're representing Tower Ventures, which is TVT4 LLC, who's the applicant of which will be building the actual cell phone tower.
Okay,
And what we do, I'll take you real quick through our process that what we usually have to do. What we do is Tower Ventures contacts us. They've been contacted by a carrier who has a service problem in an area. They basically show us a map and go, hey, we need better service in this area. So they contact us and we come out. The first thing we do is see if there's an existing structure that's in the area that we could co-locate on. that would satisfy the improvement requirement of the carrier. In this particular situation, there wasn't an existing structure in the area. So we identified a property that, after reviewing the ordinance, we thought the tower on that property would meet all the requirements of the ordinance. In this case, it was a forest recreation district. And we looked at the dimensions of the property, and then we looked at the requirements of the ordinance with the setbacks and figured out and worked with our RF engineers to make sure we had an adequate height to achieve the improvement that they were looking for. And then we do all of our drawings up, do all of our environmental required reviews, and everything looked to be in line. At that time, we come to the zoning board and put in an application. Basically, the other thing we did in this case was we did photo simulations to kind of show what the tower was going to look like when it gets built. And it's pretty cool the way they do that anymore. They'll actually fly a drone to the height that the tower is going to be at, and then they'll take pictures of that, and then they'll superimpose that tower so it's exactly pretty much the way it's going to look. And we took pictures from several surrounding points. I worked with your supervisor, the previous one, not this one. And we agreed on some points that made sense to take some photos so we could show what the tower is going to look like to the surrounding area. And you have that in the packet. I think it does a good job. One thing that we really try to do is we try to get a location identified that's going to be as low an impact to the view shed as we can. It's not perfect, but in this case, we're screened really nicely with some existing trees and vegetation. So I was very happy with that location. That was one of the reasons. And it satisfied, we included 2 propagation maps that they run a computer simulation. The carrier said, okay, if we put a set of antennas at this location horizontally at this height, then I think it's going to fill in that gap that we are experiencing very nicely and should increase the customer experience in that area. Another thing that I think is clear in the drawings that we submitted, Tower Ventures is in the business of co-locating people on towers. That's how they make, that's their business model. So not only will it work for Verizon Wireless, but if another carrier has a similar need in that area, they're already set up to accommodate that second or third carrier onto that site. I think that's basically the high points, but more than one to answer any questions the board has.
Have you guys ever made them look like trees?
I'm sorry.
Have you guys ever made them look like trees?
We have in some cases, and in some cases that makes sense. And it's a very rare case in my experience because it looks like a 195-foot tall pine tree. And when we build it, it still looks like a 195-foot pine tree. So if you don't have similar tree heights nearby, it looks just as conspicuous as if we just
It's
put up
just the tower.
They have one out in the Plain States, just so you know, that looks like a bison.
Oh, really?
And that's, and it's up on top of a hill. I went out and saw it after it was done. And that still doesn't look like a bison because it's a huge thing, and it is kind of blends in.
Mhm.
So we do what we can. The nice thing with these is it's going to be a galvanized finish. It's kind of gray. Today's a great example. Blends in about as nicely as you can with the Michigan winter sky. And we don't, FFA is not asking us to put light on it, so that's nice too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. What height?
The height of the tower is 190 foot,
So what height would you have to put a light on?
above 200.
200, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the ceiling unless you're close to an airport, and then sometimes they'll make you light it, but 200's where you break that height. And you'll notice we're 195 for the top of lightning rod, which is really 5 foot lower than where we really needed to be. But this is the maximum height that the RF guys thought they needed. So we didn't go up the extra 5 foot, just gave them what they needed and they were completely happy.
Okay.
Now, who actually, when it's decommissioned, who actually takes it down?
Tower Ventures, it's in their lease and we provided a redacted copy of the lease. They are required legally, if that agreement is no longer in effect, they have to take down all their improvements and leave it the way they found it. Now, it will have a 25-ish foot foundation underneath it. They're not yanking that all the way back out, but they'll cut it down so that
Okay.
it's usable again for whatever the landowner needs to use it for.
Comments, questions? Any other questions?
Is there any negative things about this? I know you don't like to talk about them, but is there any negative things about having this tower there?
Yeah, typically, no. It's the way they operate them today, used to you'd have a tech that would come out about once a week. But now they'll run fiber optic cables to these and they can monitor everything at the site and make adjustments to the antennas. If they need a signal adjustment, they can do all that now remotely. So really, there's only a guy back there about once a quarter. Unless they're doing an equipment change out, which they do about every 3 years on these sites. So from a traffic impact, it's not really a drawback. Also, used to you had the big concrete buildings that they would put out there, and those would require an air conditioner, 2 air conditioners, redundant, right?
Right.
Which could be loud. The new systems are all designed with outdoor equipment. It's almost all DC powered, very low power requirement on those. The air handlers are very small now. And even the generators have gotten smaller. The generator, even during power outages, they may have to use a generator, but that generator's noise level is about the same as a house air conditioner anymore. Used to be much bigger impact, much bigger footprint, but the way they've reduced the design from an environmental standpoint, everything, noise, it's much lower impact now. So really, other than the view shed, that's really the only thing. And again, we tried to minimize that in this case by putting it in a good location that I think keeps it out of most eye shot.
How do they operate that generator, natural gas?
Uh,
Or propane?
In this case, it'll be LP. So diesel is always the first choice, but there's enough wetlands nearby that I believe this one's diesel restricted, which means that it'll be an LP tank.
Ready?
No, I've read through all this stuff.
Have any questions or just listening? Okay. Sir?
It doesn't have guy wires or anything.
No.
Just a freestanding.
Now, typically you won't do a guy wire unless you get over that 200-foot threshold.
Right.
Monopoles, which is, this one's a monopole. Typically, if you stay below 200, it's economically advantageous to stay with the monopole. The guy wires also have some maintenance, long-term maintenance requirements with them that obviously, if we can avoid that, we'd rather. So in this case, like I said, it's a monopole in this case.
When you anticipate this being completed, once it's approved?
I'm sorry?
When do you anticipate this being completed?
This one, it will definitely be in by 26. It may come into 25 if this goes well and they pull in that schedule. So the earliest would be June, second quarter of 25, and then definitely by first quarter 26. So we once we get zoning approval, we get permitting, then we'll put it into the budget, and then they'll tell us exactly what that year's gonna look like once they get the budget approved.
I think that should be a nice improvement for cell phone coverage around Long Lake. I mean, there's lots of residents.
That's our hope, and if
Yeah.
you can see from the map, it's got a pretty good hole right now, so definitely should be an improvement.
Okay, and reviewing Rick's finding of facts. I won't read every one, but unless somebody wants me to. Yeah.
All requirements.
It meets the, meets all the requirements of the ordinance. Okay, I guess if there's no other questions, we can need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Larry,
Second,
Roxanne, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Abby, if you have, if you have anything to say, just, yeah, please, please. Okay, okay, okay. All right, so, and it's as we satisfied the decommissioning. Okay, so, we can make a motion to approve the plan as is. We can make a motion to approve with, restrictions, or we can deny. Those are our options.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special use and the site plan for the construction of the support tower on parcel 0130140000120-00 based on the findings.
I'll support that.
Roxanne made a motion. We'll give Norm the support. All right, no, roll call, yeah.
Roxanne,
Yes,
Larry,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Laura,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay,
You want some?
sure. We'll give you this. I don't know. Did I get your name? Maybe I already forgot.
Fred,
Fred, okay, Fred, yes.
Okay.
So we're, so get to work. We're,
yeah. get it
so when
together.
my calls don't drop when I'm driving by there, you know, then.
Then you might as well head on up to Press Field because that power up there is terrible.
Hubbard Lake too, there's a lot of dead spots
Yeah.
up there, so I can, if you need some advice on where to build some more, I'll. Okay, were we gonna get Denise on?
Hello there.
Yep, she's here.
Oh, Kevin and Dylan are on, okay. Kevin or Dylan, did you have any comments? We ignored you, I'm sorry. They're probably sleeping, okay. Okay, Denise, you're on.
Hey, so how is everybody doing?
Great.
Good.
Denise.
So I was asked to attend this meeting to see if you all want to continue the discussion about short-term rental homes that you started last time. Or I guess let's start there because I see that one's on the agenda. So has anybody had a chance to, read through, I had sent some drafts that were actually had actually been written for another community as, just something to review to give you guys something to start with in terms of looking at like what other communities are doing in terms of short-term rentals. So I'm wondering if anybody's had a chance to read through those or to think about it more, if you're prepared to talk about it, or I don't know, maybe you want to wait till you have your full planning commission because it looks like you're at.
We're kind of, yeah, just
you
barely
low.
made it.
Yeah.
And as you know, Abby is our new supervisor, so do you have any thoughts on that, Abby? Or are you just kind of? Okay.
I think that we reached out looking for other options or other, phone, want to do that. I know, that's serious. They will hear you, or she won't hear you.
Hi Denise.
There.
I just had some more questions about it, but I certainly need to look into it a little bit more. And I think that we had asked if you could supply some other samples, which
Yep.
I believe is what you gave. I haven't had the chance to look at that yet, but I would like to look those over and just kind of get a better idea of what your samples are.
Yep, and I mean, that's fine. So just kind of to sort of catch you up to speed on, what we talked about at I don't remember if it was the last meeting or 2 meetings ago, I apologize, but basically the short-term rentals are a land use that's not addressed right now, really, in zoning. So it's, the recommendation that you address it in a standalone ordinance. So your attorney's not there tonight, is he?
No,
Oh, okay. So I work with your attorney a lot for a lot of different communities. So he recommends to all of his communities that you basically address a short-term rental as a land use that it is in the zoning ordinance. So, it goes in your use table. But then keep the actual regulatory ordinance as a standalone. So that's what most attorneys are recommended that their communities do. I think that eliminates sort of a grandfathering of ones that are in existence right now. So what I did is he actually had asked me to draft something that was very close to what he had drafted for Presque Township. So that's kind of what you're looking at. It's a little bit different. One of the examples I sent you, where I actually inserted Charter Township of Alpena, just, the ones that I sent you like that, you have an amending ordinance to add it to your zoning, and then the other copy is a standalone ordinance, which would be your regulatory ordinance. So that is very similar to what Presque Township has. Tiny bit different. What I did was I sort of went and got a few other examples and incorporated it in, addressed a couple of things that they didn't. They initially, when they started their process of reviewing this, they actually formed a subcommittee of partly planning commission, partly short-term rental owners, and partly neighboring properties of short-term rentals, which worked really well. They kind of all sat around the table together and said, okay, what makes sense? I don't know, maybe you all want to do something like that. I can help if that's something you want to do. But they started out kind of like this with a lot of, a regulatory ordinance that was pretty substantial. And then they sort of, they picked and they chose which ones made sense there. And then, I sent you a bunch of other examples. I kind of probably sent like 4 or 5 other examples of different communities that regulate them in different ways. So I guess, that's where we're at right now, is just you've got some examples in front of you. I don't know if the best method is to talk about it, with the full planning commission, or if you want to do a subcommittee similar to what Presque Township did. Just, I guess, what are your thoughts?
Who did the samples go to?
Well, I sent, let's see.
I only have one.
Oh, you only have one?
Pardon?
They were emailed to everybody. There was a lot of them, so.
Okay.
Tom's got some in front of them right now.
I've got 3 of them, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I know you're low, you only have 4 people. We could set up another meeting to really talk about it in detail. Probably in person. Sometimes it's hard, when I'm virtual.
Well, we will, yeah. I don't think we're gonna get real far tonight, but
Yeah, when you're missing people, this is a big issue that, you want everybody's input
Yeah.
on.
and we obviously want the supervisor to be up to speed as much as she can.
Yeah.
I'm sure that her
She has
place.
a lot coming at her right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess, one of our concerns was enforcement, I mean, we have the sheriff's department, what might be left of it, and that's about our only that's our police, or state police, I guess, too. And that's the only thing we really have. So
Yep.
If we read all these rules and then we don't have anybody to enforce them, that that was our concern. I know at the last other meetings, and now the county is in dire straits with their budget, and they might even cut more road patrol. So it's That, you see, that did, what's Presqu'île think about that? I mean, or what are
So,
your other
that's-
clients?
That's what we can find out. Presqu'île does a pretty good job at enforcement. You know, they use their zoning administrator to enforce that ordinance. I mean, I could make a call and talk to them and find out exactly what their procedure's like. They have the same, you know, like the same attorney that you all have. So I'm sure he's involved in the enforcement of it. I don't know if they've had a huge number of problems. So that's one thing. It may be that it's going well because they just don't have a lot of problems. They have a lot of short-term rentals, but maybe they're just not causing any problems. And so people pretty much come in, they get their short-term rental permit, and maybe that's all it, then maybe that's it. You know, but I can find out if you want some more information about like what another community goes through. I mean, that would be something we could find out before your next meeting.
Yes, I think that's something that's, if you make rules and then you have no way to enforce them, why make rules, I guess,
Yeah.
that's kind of
I mean-
my feeling anyway.
There's so many different ways you can probably do it. It's probably something your attorney ought to be involved in that discussion also. You know, there are some communities that they go all out, right? There's actually companies out there that will do it for you. That will do all of the, you know, the registration, the monitoring, everything for you, but I know those probably cost a lot. You know, so there's some communities that go to that extreme end. And then there's some communities, I think, that just purposely adopt very few standards so that you don't have huge enforcement issues. And then probably most of them are somewhere in between.
Okay,
So. So, I mean, I can, you know, would it be all right if I just asked your attorney, you know, what his recommendation for enforcement would be? Or is that something you want to do? Either way is fine.
That'd be fine.
that's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd be fine with asking him.
Yeah, he definitely has, he does a lot of work for townships, so you would
Yep.
have a good idea.
Does a lot of lakefront communities too,
Yeah.
you know, and that's where a lot of them are located. Yep, we can do that. I would say, you know, that's my task between now and your next meeting. And I think, you know, if you all could read through, you know, not just the one that I labeled as Charter Township of Alpena, but some of the other ones that I sent. I mean, we could find hundreds. I know you don't want to read hundreds of them, but you know, we could find hundreds of different examples. Not one is going to be, you know, the same, or no two are going to be the same. I guess it just depends on, you know, where, like you said, where the comfort level is in terms of enforcement, and, you know, how regulatory do you want to be? So just, I guess, start thinking about those things as you read through it in terms of what's practical.
Yes.
Is there anything else on that issue?
No, I guess we're good.
Okay. So the other issue I saw on the agenda was master plan.
Master plan, yes.
And I think the last I'm trying to remember what the last email said. I think it was Lynn sent me the email. And when is the township board discussing master plan? Is that?
December 16th.
Okay, so that's what's next week, right?
Yeah.
Is that next week already?
Yes. Yes.
Ah, okay.
I know.
Okay, so the other thing we talked about at the last meeting was whether or not the township wanted to be part of the joint plan process, like you were part of it. Tom, I don't think you were at that meeting.
No, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I know the recreation plan seemed to go well when we partnered with the other townships.
Yep, so that was the discussion in terms of, you know, is it beneficial to join in? The last time you all did your master plan on your own, we have, I think, potentially even more communities wanting to join in on a joint master plan. So I just to kind of catch you up to speed, you know, I sort of explained at the last meeting that, you know, you don't actually lose anything by doing a joint plan. You're still gonna have your own goals and objectives, all the same background information about the township's gonna be in there. It's just, what's extra is having some meetings as all of the planning commissions together and coming up with some joint goals and objectives. Really, coordinating that future land use map. So with your adjacent townships to make sure, that your future land use is lining up with theirs as they make decisions, in terms of what their zoning districts are going to be. So there's that kind of coordination. That's really, I would say that's about the only difference, other than when we do the background chapters, we put everybody's together so that when we talk about transportation and roads, we talk about the whole county rather than just the township. So that's, and the planning commission said, yeah, they felt that, they made a recommendation that they would like to be part of that joint planning process.
Yeah,
Since that meeting, I have talked to other townships who also want to be part of that joint process. So it sounds like that's the way everybody's thinking, is they really, I think, see some value in that, everybody working together. So we'll just wait to see, that's township board decision, right? Because ultimately,
right.
they're going to be adopting after planning commission, and it's, because you have specific funding, you have 2 different funding sources that you received. And so, that would be pooling together with other resources. Now that doesn't change your grants. Your grants don't disallow that or anything. So, but again, that's, we'll see what the township board says next week. And then, I'm going to be talking to a couple of more communities here very soon. Like I said, so far, everybody I've talked to have said, yeah, of course they want to do that. So if that turns out to be what we'll do, then we'll start probably in January. Well, yeah, because, nothing happens in December, right?
No,
Oh.
this is. We're already shutting down for
Yeah.
Christmas. So.
I'm noticing a significant drop off of emails in December. So yeah, we would start that process in January. And what we'd probably do, I think, well, no, we'd have to do this. I know you all we did some public input last year. Remember, before we found out that your federal grant was messed up and had to be delayed for a year. But we'll do more public input, because at that point we would have to put, probably another survey out that pertained to the whole county, to pertain to all the municipalities. And, we could potentially get a lot more respondents to that one, because, you're targeting the whole county at that point. So, so we have to redo a little bit, but that's it.
Okay.
Is there anything else you have for me? Any zoning questions?
Oh, God. I'll email you about that tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I
I'm
feel
gonna-
bad for you, because you're getting some hard questions hit toward
Just
you.
hitting the ground running, that's all. Expected nothing different.
But I know on, like, housing is a big issue everywhere now, and.
Yep.
Like the city is dealing with some developer that wants to build all these, townhouse units and single family units, and. So that's been in the paper a lot, and the township should be prepared for. If somebody wants to do that here.
Yeah, well, that's one of the recent things that happened within the last couple of months is the state of Michigan did passed a law to actually require communities to address zoning, or address housing in your zoning and in your master plan. And I know we already do, but I read that to mean in more depth. Okay, and you're already set up for that, because that's exactly what your MSHDA grant that you just got is requiring, that we really take a very close look at housing and be very specific about plans for housing in the master plan, so that you can translate that then into your zoning. So it's good timing, because the law got passed after you got your MSHDA grant. So you're already on your way there. And then the other thing with that MSHDA grant, because it completely fits within the budget, is that, and we talked about this at the last meeting, is that we can do some comprehensive updates to your zoning if needed, and I'm sure it's needed, it's been a few years. I know there's things that need to be changed. So that's something that will totally fall under that grant. Again, it's not gonna cost the township anything. And, so, once we get the structure in place for the master plan in terms of housing, we're gonna go and talk about zoning, but we'll talk about more than housing when we talk about the zoning. So you guys are gonna have to suffer through me again. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. You have helped us tremendously and when we rewrote our ordinance, yeah. We wouldn't invite you back if we didn't.
So I guess that's where we're at. That's
Okay.
where everything stands.
Any questions for Denise? Anybody?
There's supposed to be a housing study. Isn't Nathan gonna get us a housing study from Target? You wanna ask Denise that?
What was that question? I couldn't hear.
Lynn asked, was Nathan supposed to get a housing study from Target, maybe? I don't
Yeah.
remember. Was that mentioned last meeting or the one before?
I think so. I didn't see anything though.
Okay. Is that something you want to do or is that something we should do?
Oh, no, I can do that.
Okay. I would just think the other townships would be interested in that too.
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to. Everybody has to address it now.
Okay,
Oh, we absolutely, yeah, yep, we will do that.
Working on this new master plan, we don't get to talk about CAFOs.
No, that's your favorite subject.
you've been
We
talking
can
about
talk.
those for the last 10 years.
Well, I just don't want one sneaking in on us.
Yeah, the state, takes a lot of ability to regulate things away from the local communities, and that's one of them.
Yep.
And it's very maddening. Oh, by the way, I shouldn't even say this. I shouldn't say this out loud. I will say it though, because, I like to complain about the state, and I can do that because my husband works for the state, so I'm allowed to complain. So one of the things we're hearing is that there's rumblings out there about the state taking over zoning for housing
For counties.
for everybody.
Oh,
Really?
great.
I'm not saying that there's a bill. There is no bill. I'm saying there's talk. So if we start to see that happening, there's going to have to be a lot of fighting, a lot of advocacy from the local communities to not allow that to happen. So,
In the 90s, when I worked for MDOT in the 90s and the state was going to start taking over like high volume local roads. And so they took over a few and then they decided they didn't want to do that anymore, so.
well, they sort of took over renewable energy, or at least they gave
Yeah, they did, yeah.
and we'll see where that goes. There's a big lawsuit right now, so, but yeah, that we don't want that to happen with housing. That would be bad. Anything else for me?
Norm, you're,
No, I got my CAFO.
you guys are good. I think we're good. Abby, you're good. All right, we're good. Denise, thank you very much. Have a good holiday.
Have a good.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Anything else?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I was supposed to speak up earlier. I'm a
Oh.
short-term rental host, and I just wanted to come and introduce myself, and kind of give you guys a perspective as a host to Oklahoma and the township, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speak up. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, no, you should have, you could stop us anytime and
Okay,
ask.
sorry,
We're not nasty. If you're not nasty, we're not.
Well, my name is Emily Carnes. This is my husband, Tyler Carnes. We have a home at 121 Channel Road 1. And I'm a short-term rental host who is 100% for regulation, if I'm being honest. I think that having rules and standards that we all have to adhere to is how we run good businesses as well as make sure that the homes in the communities are not affected. So I'm not against that at all. I can only speak to how I run my short-term rental. I can't speak to how anybody else in the township does, but I have watched a few of the past meetings and kind of heard some of the concerns that you guys have as far as like parties, neighbors being affected, things like that. So I took some notes because I'm not the best at speaking in front of everybody. I kind of forget things, so I
You're
wanted
doing
to. What was that?
I said, you're doing great.
Oh, well, thank you. But I did want to say that we do take hosting seriously, and we use this home as our vacation home as well. We come up to Alpena. We lived in it for a year, kind of while we did some renovations, and then moved back down when we had our child. So we still use the home. We want it to stay in good condition, and we want the community to benefit from it as well. But a few of the things that we have in place is I do work with a professional management company who is available 24/7 for our guests. So if they have any issues, or even if they're being loud or anything like that, our management company is aware of those things, because we also have camera surveillance on the property. So we have a Ring camera at our front door, and we have a camera kind of facing the channel out the back. So we can understand if they're being loud, if any issues are happening at that time. We also have insurance policy that on top of our homeowner's insurance, it's specific to short-term rentals. So it has additional liability insurance attached to it that covers us as well as if anything were to happen to our guests. And then they actually kind of safety check us as well. And so they run through our property when we get our policy, and every single year when we update our policy, they'll run through our listing, they'll ask questions and make sure that we're keeping safety standards up. We also have a software that we use, which is for guest verification. It's called Happy Guest. And so they have to actually sign a rental agreement. Every single one of our guests who comes to our property signs a rental agreement. They make sure that they know our house rules. So we have a 10 p.m. Sound or noise rule, to where if they don't have to necessarily end the party per se, but they do have to keep it down because we do have close neighbors. And then they also pay a damage waiver and have a credit card on hold for us in case anything does happen to the property. And then they also have to submit a photo ID. So we make sure that we're verifying who is actually showing up to our properties. And then my neighbors do have my personal phone number. So if they run into any issues at all, they can call me directly. Actually, one of the gentlemen who came before to one of the meetings, we're in communication with him pretty often. And he let me know that the lights in the backyard were a little bright, and we just make sure that the lights get turned off every night from now on. I don't want this to be a problem to my neighbors. If it's a problem to my neighbors, I'm not doing my job correctly. And then we don't allow one night stays. That is one huge thing to make it so parties aren't being thrown in the community. I definitely don't want that to be happening. Again, I use this as my personal vacation house. So if I show up and my house is trashed, I'm not going to be very happy about that either. So
Yeah, you don't want a bachelor party or bachelorette party coming up here with 50 people and
yeah, we do have a limit on how many are allowed to stay in the home. We host 8 people in our home. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. So we host 8 people there, and I'm not trying to host a heads in beds situation, is kind of what we call it in our industry. I'm not trying to just pack people into this home. And we continue to reinvest as much as we can back into the home. We spent a significant chunk of money getting this property kind of up and running. We updated the property, and I always look at reinvesting to make sure that the house is updated. We're looking at redoing a back deck potentially at our property. So I don't want this to be a burden on the community at all. I love it here. We loved living in Alpena for the year that we lived here, and we recommend local places to all of our guests as well. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of a perspective as a host as well, that I take it just as seriously as I hope everybody else would. Just to give you guys kind of that little background, and I'm happy to take any questions.
If everybody did what you did, we wouldn't need to be writing.
Well, I do have a mentorship program that I try to teach other people to do the same thing. So my goal is for the reputation of short-term rental hosts, whether it's Airbnb or direct booking websites or whatever people are booking through, I want the reputation to remain good. And so my goal is to have that happen. Yes, sir.
Could you, would you mind leaving your name and contact information with our supervisors so that we can contact you?
Absolutely. Yes.
For additional information? You've been very helpful.
If I could get
We
it
want-
too,
we
that
want-
would be great.
Yes. Yes.
We want
absolutely.
people to come here and spend their money, but we don't
Mhm.
want them to make life miserable for the people that live there.
Yeah,
Right.
and I definitely don't want that either. And so I fully understand that it probably, in a lot of communities, short-term rental hosts have created a bad reputation for our industry in general, and that's not what I want to happen. We have lived all over the world at this point, and we decided to come back to Michigan, where we're from, and invest in a property here because we love it here and we know why people travel to places like Alpena. So it was just something that I wanted to come and speak on and make the trip up here. We did move back down to where my parents lived when we had our son, so we come up here as often as we can, but.
Great, you did a great presentation
Oh.
for not being.
Too bad Denise didn't get to hear.
Thank you. I will give whoever my contact. Do you want me to write it down, or I can give it to you directly?
And you signed in, right?
Yes, sir.
So we have.
Yep.
Thank you. So are you doing the second half of presentation or?
Yeah. Denise, if you can hear me, I'll forward this information to you also.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Oh, Denise is still on, good.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know you went away, but.
See, we have somebody here that wants to do it right, Denise.
Yep, that's the type of person you need feedback from.
Yes.
Yep.
I think in all the regulations we've heard, the Flushing mentioned for Preston Hill, that it's doing posts, neighbors, board members.
That's the
probably
best we've heard.
we've heard.
Yeah, I've heard all kinds of different, we have, my business partner and I have different properties throughout the state. And there's ones that just have not taken anybody into consideration, whether it be people in the community or folks as well. So I've heard all different things. That one sounds incredible that everybody kind of gets to speak their mind.
They're saying that the Presskill one is one of the best they've seen, Denise.
Okay. Good deal.
Anything else, anybody?
No, I don't think so.
Kevin and Dylan, are you awake?
They're muted. I didn't mute them. They muted themselves.
Okay, I guess,
Yeah.
we have a motion to close.
I'll make a motion.
Larry? Nobody seconds it?
I'll second.
Okay, Roxanne, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Get out of here.
There, now it's closing.
There, now I can talk.